I'm really excited to share this interview with you, and I want to apologise because we actually filmed it a good few weeks ago, but I've had stuff going on, so I haven't had a chance to edit it and put it up there. So here it is. So I just want to say sorry to Laura. But today I have a really lovely woman, and her name is Laura, and she bravely shares with us her journey of losing her mum at 17 and how she didn't deal with her grief at the beginning, and eventually it caught up with her and she had to address it. And she talks very, very openly and honestly about her journey with it. She also shares an amazing exercise that she learned in therapy, and I think that it can be really beneficial to others too. Before we get into it, I just want to apologise for we had a few internet problems, but we just ran with it. We tried to make the best of a bad situation, and just bear with us please. We both share our views and opinions about our grief journeys, and we have a really honest conversation about victim mentality. So I hope you enjoy it.
My name's Laura. I'm 27 years old. Currently living in like the Reading area, but yeah, I've lived in many places over the last 10 years, I would say.
So I found you, I believe, after I lost my brother, and I really was inspired by all the stuff that you put out on your Instagram. Obviously, you've been through loss, which you're going to discuss with me today. And I just love your take on it. Like, you don't hide from the fact that it's painful, which of course it is, but you also try and help to inspire others, and also to sort of use your pain as fuel for your life. That's how I receive it anyway. That's how I receive all your content online. And I love that. And it was so inspiring to be around because like when I was trying to navigate my way through grief, it really helped me to have people like you visible to me. It's quite easy to sort of go in a whirlwind and go in a really bad place. And I think having people like you visible really helped me to sort of build rather than just break down. Like, it's hard enough as it is, but it was really sort of like inspiring just to have a little piece of someone who kind of knows what I've been through, but is maybe a little bit further along than I am. And it was a real sort of light bulb moment for me to be like, okay, she's doing it, I can do it too. And you know, and like obviously we've lost different people, but it just really helped. So before we go any further, I do want to just say thank you for that, because I don't think you realize how much your posts have helped. And like, even just like the way you talk about your mum and stuff like that, you're very open, like you're quite vulnerable, which is so hard to do, and I really admire that in you, so thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind.
No, well, it's just the truth.
Yeah, and I think like that's really good to hear, because when I first started the page, well, it was like 2018 now, so a few years ago, my Instagram page, it was primarily like just a open diary. It was just me letting it all out, and it was private for a long time, as in from my friends and my family. Like, none of them knew that I had this Instagram page. It was almost like I was putting my thoughts down so that they were out there in the world to be received by, I don't know, but like, just it was just my way of getting it out. And it's kind of evolved and developed into, I guess, like it's not really a resource page, but I guess a page where, one, I can just outlet how I'm feeling, but two, like, have people, whether they interact with me or not, that view it and it's like hope. And that's what I love about it. Like, it's because it's the truth as well. It's everything. I'll never, if I'm having a bad day, I voice I have a bad day. If I'm having a good day, I'll voice I have a good day. And it's just kind of, yeah, it's been a bit of a tricky thing to navigate as well, because obviously when you get into the world of Instagram and content, it's easy to then have that spiral of like, okay, I want to like create content, but I want it to be authentic. Like, I want it to be how I'm feeling on that day, and how am I meant to plan that? So yeah, there's peaks and troughs with it, but no, ultimately it's for me, but it's just an added bonus that people do benefit from it. But I guess for the purposes of the recording, like it's basically a background of like a journey of my grief and losing my mum, and it would be 10 years this year, so I guess it is quite a long time ago, I guess. And it's kind of stepping into that territory of like, it's almost like I've lost her longer than I had her. I mean, I was 17, so I'm getting it's almost there, but it's yeah, but it's all just new, and like I think that's like the point, I guess, is that it's a continuous thing. It never ends, but it gets better, I guess, or gets easier a little bit.
Definitely. And we'll get back into the Instagram thing in a minute, because something you just said just sparked a question.
Okay.
So before we go any further, do you want to, in your words and whatever you feel comfortable with, do you want to tell the story about what happened to your mum? You know, like a little bit about your relationship with her, because everyone has very different relationships with their parents. So do you just want to sort of tell us about you two and then sort of what happened?
Yeah, of course. So mum died when I was 17, so 10 years ago. And it was from a brain tumor. So she had brain cancer, and she had it for, or her journey of it was about 5 years from start to finish. So she was first diagnosed in, well, when did she die? 2011. So however many, 5 years before that, she was diagnosed. But yeah, so she, during like her time in remission, she had to have like I don't know if it was like 3 monthly checkups or like just checkups along the way, just to make sure that the cancer's at bay and that she's doing okay. And I remember she basically said to me, she was like, "Oh, I don't feel good about this one." And that isn't like my mum. My mum's so positive and just so like, just, I don't know, just happy-go-lucky. Like, so for her to kind of say, "I'm not sure about this," it kind of was very telling. But I was just like, "Oh, like, don't be silly, like, you're fine, like, whatever." But no, it had come back, and I guess she felt the difference, I guess. And that was in the March, and by the October, she was gone. So it was really quick from the second like diagnosis, I guess. Yeah. And that was just basically because of before, with her treatment, you can only have a certain amount of radiotherapy, and she exceeded that, or she had that amount, and surgery wasn't an option just because of like the positioning of the tumor, and her options were limited. So she decided that she didn't want to have chemotherapy because of how like ill it made her. So yeah, she just kind of just took it with grace, I would say. But I was not who I am today. I was a horrible teenager.
But we all
just typical. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Gave her a bad time, and probably was added to her like plate, if that makes sense. I was just a bit unruly, but I learn. But yeah, like we were very close, and I think we clashed because we were so similar, and yeah, we just
she probably saw
we just
a
had
lot
so
of
much more to give each other, I think. But yeah.
So how does a 17-year-old deal with something like that?
Not very well.
No.
I was very, actually, I just shut it off, and I was very much, can I swear?
Yeah, go for it.
Very much just like fuck it, like these things happen, like my mum's dead and just got to get on with it. I was very just brush it off and didn't address it at all, and I guess that was like partly denial, and I don't really know, but I just
mechanism as well, one way for you to deal with that amount of stress.
yeah, no, I just basically shut off from it all, and just carried on life as like business as usual kind of take on it. I remember actually she died on the Sunday, and then I had half term because I was at college, and then the next Monday I actually had work experience for 3 weeks, and I remember going in to meet this like manager for the work experience and just being like, oh, by the way, my mum died last Sunday, so like if I get upset, like that might be why, but I'll probably be okay. And I remember her literally just being like, why are you here, like what? She
Yeah.
just couldn't believe that I just so blasé just come out with it. But yeah, I also drank a lot, like a lot. All of my friends were doing it as well, but it was just a lot of like, I guess, underage just drinking. And yeah, it wasn't until really about 4 years later that I would say it kind of knocked on my door properly, and I dealt with it, well, tried to start dealing with it anyway.
Do you think that like just carrying on, like you said, business as normal, and sort of like maybe putting it on pause was your way of dealing with it? Like to not deal with it was your way of dealing with it?
I
Yeah.
think so. And I also think at like 17, I didn't have the tools to deal with it. I'd never had a loss like that in my life, like no grandparent or anything. Like my mum was my first funeral, like that was my first loss. So I didn't have the tools. I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until that like I got older and I guess more life experience, I started traveling, like my eyes were like opened up to the world, and I just started like, yeah, like really, I guess then getting the tools. And then obviously once you kind of become aware of things, other things resurface. I think that's kind of what happened.
Do you have any siblings?
Yes, I've got 2 sisters. I'm in the middle.
With
I've got an old.
That's your mum's children?
Yes, yeah. So my little sister is technically like my half sister. She's my mum's daughter with my stepdad. But it's never really that way. It's always just like
That's your sister.
full sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did having them around help, or did you sort of just block out the world and just deal with it yourselves? Like what was the dynamics like with your sisters?
My oldest sister, even to this day, doesn't really talk about it. She's very like a closed book. She obviously like misses mum and she grieves in like her own way, but she's very protective of that kind of part of her life, I would say. And then my little sister would have been 11 at the time, and I was at home, whereas my older sister was at her like living with her boyfriend. So I think I kind of just took on that like motherly role with my little sister. And again, she didn't really know how to deal with it at 11. Like she just, I don't know. But even now, so she's what, 21, and the dynamic is still very much like I'm very motherly like towards her, and that's kind of like our relationship. It's very like maternal, and yeah, it's just always been that way. But yeah, she, again, we talk about it a lot. Like we'll sit and we'll go through pictures of mum, and we talk about it, but she's very dark humor when it comes to it, whereas like I'm a little bit in between.
Yeah, I mean that's just siblings, you know, we've all got our own little quirks, so maybe that's just, you know, one of your differences. Do you think that you've got closer with your sisters since your mum's passing, or like just as you get older things naturally change anyway? Like what's the dynamics like now?
Yeah, I think we would like inevitably like have always got closer, like you say, just as siblings do. Like you fight when you're younger, and then as you get older, like I remember like my sister like throwing a hairbrush at my head like you know what I mean? Like just like
Yeah.
sisterly love. And my mum being like, oh, you'll be best friends one day. And I'd be like, I'm not being best friends with her. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. It's almost like when mum died, all arguments stopped. I can't remember having a single argument with my sisters post like losing mum. Not even this little squabble. Like I just can't remember arguing with them. It's almost like I had that like sibling like fighting, and then it stopped, and we had to be there. Like,
why do you think it stopped?
I don't know. I guess one, there was like other things to be thinking about. It was kind of like a positive thing, like, are we going to argue about this when bigger things are happening? Maybe.
Yeah.
I just don't think it mattered anymore. Whatever we were arguing about just didn't matter. And we just pulled together, I think.
I think when you lose someone, for me, it just, are you still there? Yeah. I think when you lose someone, for me, it always puts things into perspective, and you realise, why am I wasting my life doing stupidness and, you know, having pathetic arguments? And well, that was my experience anyway. So when you were saying about your sisters, I was just like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I think that's like what I carry into like my life now. I don't argue. I just like, I don't have time for it. Like if you have a problem, fine, have your problem. I don't have the energy, or I have the energy, but it's better sourced or better, you know, portrayed somewhere else. Like, yeah, 100%, that is it. Like I pick my battles, and it makes life so much more enjoyable when you realize that, like, am I gonna get annoyed because my boyfriend's boxers are on the floor? No, I'll just pick them up and put them in the washer. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, it really,
not that big a thing.
And it's not worth your time. No, and it's not worth your time spending your days and your hours and your minutes stressed, or like, I'm not stressed, like I'm a very stressful person, but like angry or annoyed. There's no point. Literally, unless like there's like, unless something big happens. But that kind of trivial stuff, it just washes over me now. I really, just whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I mean, I definitely get stressed about some things, but you know, I pick my battles. There are some things I really don't have the time of day for. If someone wants to come at me with some pettiness, carry on. I haven't got time for it. Do you know what I mean? So I know everyone's different, and I know that, you know, I'm not saying I'm above anyone or anything like that, because there is things that I get annoyed at that other people will be like, Rhiannon, let it go. But you know, I do think it just puts things into perspective, and you just think, oh, it's really not worth it. Like in the grand scheme of life, like you said, boxes on the floor are really not worth my stress and my time.
No, but I guess like the other side of that, like the flip side of that, is like, if I'm having a bad grief day, or I'm in my feelings, that's when small things just tip me over the edge, because like I'm already like handling my grief, which takes up all of me, to then have like a little thing on top, it just boils over. So it's like one extreme to the other. I'm all or nothing. I'm either just like, it doesn't matter, or I'm literally like, why are you doing this?
I think that's normal though. I think with whatever you're going through, whether it's, you know, grief, whether it's a breakup, whether it's financial problems, I think you get to a certain point where you're just about holding it all together, and that one little thing can happen, that's it. That's it. Yeah, game over. So I think that's really normal.
I was going to just add to that, like, I mean, I lost mum young. So when I'm experiencing certain feelings, I do find it hard. And even now I find it hard to differentiate between, like, is that grief? Is that trauma? Is that because I experienced loss so young? Or is that just normal? Like, is that just how I would have reacted had mum survived and be stood here now? Like, would I still just be this way? Like, it's so hard to know, because I was at such like a point in my life where I was changing anyway. So like whether I would have gone one way or the other or been who I am still, it's really hard to know.
It is. And I always think it's really like confusing, because like you said, you're like, am I reacting this way because that has happened to me, or am I reacting that way because that's a normal way to react? And I don't know whether you feel like this, you always kind of feel like, well, I always kind of feel like I put myself in that box of like grieving sister, and maybe it's like a little bit of, I don't know, like, oh, this is going to sound harsh, and I don't mean it to sound harsh, but almost like I'm making myself a victim. And I have to realize sometimes that no, sometimes life is hard, and sometimes things happen to me and it's hard to deal with. It's got nothing to do with the fact of what has happened in my past. It's just hard. Life is just hard sometimes, and that's okay, because we'll find a way to get through it and we'll find ways to deal with it. But I think when you go through something that still feels so raw and is still so painful, you kind of like get into this thing of like, okay, great, now I have this to deal with and this to deal with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like that's happened a lot with me. Like, I'll react in a certain way, and previously I may have used like mum's death as like almost like a get out of jail free card, like not in that way, but just almost,
I know what you
like,
mean, yeah.
I'm having a hard time, like leave me alone. Whereas actually, like, maybe it's like, that victim kind of pity party emotion, I guess.
But then also as well, sometimes we do need like a little bit of leniency, like people in general, like we're all going through something, do you know what I mean? So it's just like we kind of need to remind people, actually, I'm not a robot, like I'm just trying to deal with some stuff right now. So it's a very fine line.
No, I think so.
So when you are trying to like navigate your way through your teens, which is hard enough as it is, and I would never ever go back, and obviously you now have added pressure of trying to like deal with the loss of your mum. I know you said that you just sort of like threw yourself into life again and you didn't deal with it. What was the point where you thought, I have to address this now, I have to deal with it? Or was it like a drip 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 effect, or was it like a certain moment that you thought, no, I have to address this now?
It was a moment for sure. So long story short, like after mum died, I stayed at home, but like I said, me and my stepdad don't see eye to eye, so that didn't last long. And then I moved in with my dad and my stepmum, and me and my dad are best friends, but that just didn't work out either. So then I went and lived with my auntie, and that was fine. I was there for a little while, but it wasn't home, and I was just constantly trying to just find my feet. I ended up in Southampton. So I grew up in Bath, so I moved to Southampton, which is about 2 hours away, because that's where I went to college. So a lot of my friends were down in Southampton. So I actually moved in with my best friend at the time and his parents, and was there for a couple of years. And that was like the most home I'd felt since mum died. It was amazing to like be in that family unit again, be with my best friend, be in like a new area. So it's all just like, it didn't remind me of mum. I didn't have any memories there. It was all just brand new. And then I went traveling again, just this carefree, like loving life girl. And I come home from traveling, and that's when it hit me. So I'd been like kind of pottering around and living my life, and then as soon as I come home, it felt like holiday blues times 100. I can't even explain it. I just plummeted, and I would just lock myself in my bedroom for days. Like, I'd literally just go to work, come home from work, go straight upstairs, wouldn't eat dinner, close my door, have my curtains closed, and I was like that for a while. And then I went to my doctors, and I just said, I need help. I can't do this anymore. And they were amazing, actually. Like, I did have to jump through some hoops. Like, I had like phone call consultations. I had to go to like a panic workshopy thing for like 4 weeks, and then after that we're like, okay, no, she still needs help. And then that's when I had therapy for, I can't remember how long it was now, quite a long time.
And how did you find the therapy? Was it beneficial to you?
Yeah, no, that was like game changer for me. But what I will say for anyone listening is that I tried therapy in the early months of losing mum, not because I sought it, but because it was put on me through like my college. It was almost like, we think you need this, so have it. And I didn't benefit from it at all. It was horrible. I hated it. But 4 years later, like I said to you, I'm now ready. Like, I'm addressing, and I'm kind of like surrendering to this feeling of like needing help, I guess. And yeah, my therapist Nonye, she was just amazing, and she went through, I had CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy, and she did a lot of activities. I was very stuck in the sense where, like, I've lost my mum, no one's going to compare to my mum, so you can't even come close to it. I was very shut off in like relationships. Like, I'd have relationships, but I was very just like, I didn't need you kind of thing, like that guard up feeling. Yeah, so she went through these activities where I almost detached myself from this idea that I could find another mum, or like there was going to be something that would fill that hole. And I kind of came to the realization that like nothing's going to fill that hole. So there's no point being like bitter towards people who are just trying to love me, because they're never going to give me mum's love. They can give me their love, but the love that I seek, I'm never going to find. So I just have to accept that.
That's quite deep. Like it's so true. And like I'm guessing from their point of view, they would never try to, you know, step into your mum's shoes or give you that mother's love. They was just trying to give you their love. But like, I can see how, and I did it in my own way, but obviously not with my mum, but that like you kind of keep people at arm's length, and you're like, I miss my brother, I just want my brother, you with your mum, so like why are you here? You can't give me what I need. But it's so true, like we kind of have to realize that, accept that has the time has come and gone, and it's so hard. It's so much harder than just saying it, but we can find love in other places, and we can find joy, and we can find home. And you know, you saying about you feel like you're being passed from pillar to post, going everywhere here, you feel like you can't like lay down some roots, but you can lay down some roots, but just in another way. And I know that now you're very loved up, and you know, you're laying down roots. But yeah, that really hit me, man. That was
oh yeah,
that's quite a realization.
Yeah, and that's what it was for me. It was one of those, it was in one of our therapy sessions. She basically, what she did is, in one session, she had me write down everyone in my circle, so everyone that I can rely on, everyone that's like my friends, family, anyone I turn to, basically. And then in a separate activity, she made me write down what I actually bought a picture of me and my mum, and around it I had to write everything that I missed. So what I missed about her physically, what I missed about her emotionally, what I missed about her just in all of these different aspects. And then what she made me do, which was like that light bulb moment, she was just like, okay, so you miss her hugs. Who in your circle, who on this list of people can you go to and embrace them and have that, like, that moment? It's not going to be your mum's hug, but who can hug you, who can hold you? Link them up. Who can give you advice? Link them up. And do you know what I mean? Like, not everyone in your circle is going to be able to give you everything that your mum gave you or everything that your person gave you, but you have people around you that can give you bits of it. So it's there for you. You just have to reach out to it, and it's not going to be in that one like figure, basically.
Yeah, and it's true for anything, you know. If I go today, then there are certain aspects of me that, you know, my kids and my husband and, you know, my parents, whoever, will get from everyone else. But I think the reason why we love people so much is because they're a whole bunch of stuff all by themselves. So the reason why one of the many reasons why you loved your mum is because she was all of these things in one big parcel, wrapped in a bow. And unfortunately,
literally,
we can't have that parcel, that present anymore. But there are parts of your mum that live in many people. And, you know, it's not that you're trying to replace your mum by getting someone else to come in and fill all those voids. It's that you have your mum. Well, this is how I see it. You have your mum in all the people who you love, and all of them can give you something.
Yeah.
And I think that's really special. That's I've never had CBT, but I know one of my friends has, and she swears by it. She was just like, it was the thing that helped me, and it really, really helped. So I'm so glad that you got that help, because I just want to say massive respect to you for reaching out to your doctors and saying, I need some help, like, where do I go from here? Because even just saying that out loud is a massive step. And again, like, massive respect to your doctors for actually helping, because sometimes, as humans do,
it's not the same story.
So
no, definitely.
So since you went to therapy, what have you been doing to, when you're either having like a down day or when something triggers you, like, what do you do? What's in your little toolbox that you use on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis?
Yeah, I mean, I think the number one thing is I actually allow myself to grieve. I used to fight it a lot, which then created a lot more other, like, anxiety and other feelings through trying to fight it. Whereas now, thankfully I don't have too many nowadays, but if I do have a bad grief day, I allow that. But I think the important thing is that if I allow myself an afternoon in bed, the next day I give it 110%, because I didn't give it 100% the day before. So it's having that awareness and discipline, I guess, of like, okay, I'm going to allow you this afternoon, but tomorrow you've got to bring it, because you know, you can't carry on like this. So that's just through obviously 10 years of growth, because it's incredibly hard to get out of bed. That's like the hardest thing, is actually getting out of bed. But yeah, I tend to just do things, even if it's just making my bed, or, you know, making a cup of tea. Like, if you do like one thing, you've done that then, and then you can do the next small thing and the next small thing, and before you know it, you've got through that day that you thought you could never get through. So it's just like those small things. And this, for me, it's letting those people around me know that today's not a good day, like, to allow me that space to kind of just be, so I don't have to turn up for anybody. You know, I don't have to be bubbly happy Laura. I can just be grieving Laura if I need to be. And I think it's important to say that, like, I've lost a lot of friends along the way as well who couldn't give me that space. And it's just respecting your boundaries and respecting your needs and surrounding yourself with people that, even if they don't understand, like Jaden, I love him, but at the start, if I brought my mum up, he just wouldn't say anything. He didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. And that was hard, but now he still doesn't know what to say, but he'll hug me, or like he'll create that space for me to talk, or, you know, like, it's just, yeah. Whereas some people, it's almost like uncomfortable for them, and that's hard, because me grieving my mum is a part of me every day, whether it's a good day or a bad day. That's a part of me, and I need space for that in everybody. So yeah.
And I always tried to make the conscious decision, like you, like, okay, I'm going to feel sorry for myself today. I'm going to allow this feeling today. I'm going to allow this pain today. But tomorrow, I'm not going to let it take over me. So I used to like talk to it like it was another person, like pain. You can stay today, but tomorrow it's gone, because stuff needs to get done. And that's just how I dealt with, because otherwise it's quite easy to stay in those uncomfortable feelings. And so, and I think for guys as well, I do think it's more difficult for males to articulate uncomfortable feelings, especially if they're trying to be a support for a female. It doesn't have to be males, you know, a lot of females you know, and males, it doesn't matter, but in general. So the fact that he can do that for you is massive, and like for both of you. And I think it shows real love, because he truly just wants the best for you. So he is just holding that space for you. And the fact that you can communicate to him, this is what I need, I think that's huge. You just said
definitely
about, you know, this, you're grieving your mum, but it's something that you have to do every day. How does losing your mum like navigate in your day-to-day life now? Like, for example, you know, when the first time you move in with your boyfriend, or if you ever talk about like marriage and kids and getting a new job, like, it's all those little things that you want to ring your mum. If you're close to your mum, you want to ring your mum. Like, how do you struggle day to day even now?
A lot. Like, I how do I describe it? Like, most of the time it's like subconsciously now, but it is when those kind of big things happen that it's like that conscious, I wake up and it's the first thing I think of, you know. But for me, and you'll probably know from my Instagram, is like my little white feathers that I see, like, as I go potter around my day. I view them every time as just like a little reminder of my mum, and a little check-in, a little hello, and they always crop up when I need her most, or even when I don't know I need her most, but she's always there on those big days. So, like, for example, where we live now, we moved in here in November, and it's my first proper home. Like I said, I've been kind of pillar to post living in other people's homes for the last 10 years. Last November was the first time that it was my home. And when we came to view it, it was actually the first place we came to see. And when we got out the door, there was a trail, no word of a lie, about a yard each kind of step was a little white feather leading us to the door. And I was just like, Jaden, I'm not going crazy, am I? And he's just like, no. And I was like, it's literally a pathway from our car to that door. And it was just amazing. And like, just little things like that are what get me through the day. But yeah, it's really hard. Like, especially now, like you say, like it's those milestones, and as we're getting older and we are talking about marriage and we are talking about kids, it's like that's going to be a whole new grieving experience I'm going to have to like navigate. Like my best friend, she's just given birth to her little baby boy, and it's not lost on me how much her mum and how much her boyfriend's mum are very much like involved in the support. And I think that's like during pregnancy, I can't just call her up and say, oh mum, like this is happening, like is this normal? Like I can't kind of have that conversation. And I also think when we do have, or if we can have children and we do have children, when they're here, her absence is gonna feel massive again. So it's just kind of like different stages of life, you kind of feel that absence differently.
Yeah, I completely get it. But do you have anyone that you can sort of, you know, call when you're like, oh, is this normal, and should the baby be doing this? Like, do you have those, like what you said in your therapy sessions, do you have people who you can lean on?
Yeah, it definitely. Like Jaden's mum is amazing. I'm her daughter. She loves me unconditionally, so that's like a really like lucky bond I have with her. And also my best friend who's just had a baby, she's like my sister. We're so close, so I definitely can lean on her, and even her mum, to be fair. Like they've kind of taken me in and are always there. So I've definitely got people that will help me along the way for sure.
And I know you said that you know, the feathers and stuff, and I have feathers, so I know how amazing it can feel. And I also know that you have dreams with your mum.
Yeah, so like these dreams, they only happen, I can probably count on one hand like how many I've had, but she is right there, like, and when I speak with her in these dreams, she's still dead. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like it's a past memory or a future. I'm not dreaming a scenario. She's still not alive in my dreams, and we're talking as if it's like this elephant in the room situation where she knows she's got to leave again, and we know that she's not here, and we know how like we're on limited time basically. So it's really hard to explain, but it's a very knowing feeling in that dream that we're on borrowed time, and like it's just a fleeting visit and she has to go back. But the most recent one that I had was maybe a month ago now, and she was there, and I basically kind of was just talking to her about like the day that she died. And on the day before she died, me and my stepdad had a horrible row. My dad had to come over and like defuel the situation, and it just wasn't a very nice day. And then I left, and before I left I went to see her, and at this point she couldn't talk or move or anything like that. And I remember holding her hand and like talking to her and stuff, and she squeezed my hand, which she hadn't done anything in days at this point. So it was a moment. But I was basically asking her permission to leave. I needed to leave. And yeah, so anyway, in this dream I said to her, like, could you hear the arguments? Could you hear the shouting? And she said no. And I basically said that I was sorry that I wasn't there when she left, and like to say goodbye and stuff like that. And she was just like, it's okay, like I love you. And that was it. And so it's like those moments.
Go on, sorry.
No, carry on. No, it's okay.
When you have these dreams and like they're so special, but like how does that then affect your mood for the that, like, obviously when you wake up, like, is it a happy feeling? Is it like a bittersweet feeling? Is it like, does it just remind you of everything that has happened? Like, how does it feel after these dreams?
Yeah, it's definitely very bittersweet, and now I'm learning to like embrace those moments that I get with her and like look forward to the next time. But I think like when it's first started happening, one, I would wake up and it was like I lost her all over again. So I was just devastated for the rest of the day. I'd call in sick to work. I couldn't function then for the rest of the day because I was so like devastated that I'd woken up and she wasn't here. And also, yeah, like now I know that she's coming back. Like I know that more are to come. It's not the only time I'm going to get to speak to her for the rest of my life. Like I've got more of those moments. So whilst it's like, it's sad and where I wake up and she was right there, she was so close. I know that there's more to come, and she wouldn't want that to ruin my day. She's coming to visit me because she loves me and she wants to talk to me. I've got unanswered questions and there's things that we need to talk about, but she only does it in like little bits, I believe, because it's like little snippets, and then she lets me go, little snippets, and lets me go, so that like there's more to come.
Yeah, I 100%, like, I know I've said to you before that, like, I really believe that's her way of trying to communicate with you, and that's you know, she wouldn't want you to be sad. If she knew it was going to keep making you sad, she wouldn't want to come anymore. Do you know what I mean? She wouldn't want to pay you visits because she loves you. She just wants to see you happy regardless. So yeah, I love the fact that you're sort of like coming round to, like, it's really special. It's a real special moment, and I don't care what anyone says, and everyone has their own opinions, but I fully believe that they can still communicate with us, just not in the ways how we're used to or that we'd like to. But they'll find their little ways of, like, you know, whether it is feathers or, you know, reaching you in your dreams or giving you little intuitive hits or like making you turn to a page in a book or whatever it is. I believe that they really like, they hold that communication open for us, and I think it's really special.
Yeah. Are you quite big on like when you meet people, like sense like getting a vibe of them, like I guess like their feel? Are you quite big on that? Because I feel I am, definitely. And I think like there's so many energies like love that you can feel. You can't see it, so someone can tell me that love doesn't exist because you can't see it. Okay, fine, but I feel it. So are you going to tell me that this doesn't exist because it's right here? And I think that's like the same with my mum and anyone really, is that it's an energy that you feel, and whether they're there physically or not, like if you feel that, you can't tell me anything, like, because but I feel it. So that's like the way I try and describe it to like other people that are a little bit like, well,
I
you know, when people die, they die.
the exact same thing in my my last YouTube video.
Oh really?
Literally the exact same thing, that like I know people are going to roll their eyes, some people don't get it, and I might be completely wrong, and I'm okay with that. But the fact that if I say to you, how do you know you're in love? How do you know you receive love? How do you know you feel love? No one can really give an answer, and no one gives the same answer. We all say different things. We don't, love could be this whole made up thing that we're just told exists, but I know it exists because I feel it, and I don't care if no one else believes me, or, you know, people say, oh, love doesn't exist or you don't feel whatever. I feel it, and I really, it's like a knowing. So I know that, like, let's get into the spiritual stuff. Like, we are spirits having a human experience. So once our human experience is over, we are still spirits, we are still souls, and their souls are still intertwined with ours in some kind of way. And they don't have a voice box, and they don't have a mouth and a throat to talk. but they have other ways of communicating with us. 100% I believe
Yeah, that's, yeah, definitely. Like our body is literally just a vessel. It's just a form of that something takes. Like that is literally all it is. So whether it was before or after our physical being, like what makes us us is still there. Like energy just transforms. It's not created or destroyed. Like it literally just is forever evolving and like changing and stuff. So yeah, I like you say, people can tell me what they want, but it's, I feel it, and if it's mum, it's mum. If it's not, it's not. But I'll take great kind of comfort in believing with my whole heart that it's her. So yeah.
Well, I believe with my whole heart that it's her too. I know she comes and visits you in your dreams, so people have their own opinions, that's okay. But yeah, no, I 100% believe that. 100% believe that. So is there any ways that you communicate with your mum?
I've really tried to like have moments of like meditation and things like that to reach her, but I don't, it's not been successful for me yet. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to reach that, if that makes sense. So like it's just never kind of happened for me. I talk to her and I look for her, but no, I wouldn't say I kind of actively communicate with her. Maybe I do subconsciously, like I'm always kind of thinking things and just kind of, you know, having conversations, I guess, but I don't put it out there.
Well,
I know like some people maybe like write.
No, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know some people like write letters or something like that, but I've never. I'm in the early days, but it's not something that I've carried on doing.
Yeah, I don't either really. I talk to my brother if I'm going through like a really bad time and I'm like, David, come on, like I need your help me with this, help me with that, look after whoever. But I would argue that you communicate with your mum through your Instagram and through your Etsy. Like the message that you put out, whether it's about you personally or the impact that you want to have, I would argue that that's communication with your mum about how special your bond is with like your mum. So, you know, it doesn't always have to be about talking or writing letters or like direct communication. It can be, you know, a roundabout way that you're sort of expressing your love for your mum and how special she is to you.
Yeah, I guess because I carry everything I do is either like around like my Instagram, my Etsy, and kind of spreading that I don't know, I was gonna say awareness, but I don't know if that's the right word, but like I carry her with me in everything I do, and it's definitely like I didn't want to be known as like, oh, Laura, the girl with a dead mum, but it kind of is the way that it happens, and I'm okay with that. Like when I'm at work, I am anyway, like it's very known that my mum's dead, and I do certain things like help other grieving people, and I'm a very approachable person in that regard. So like I guess in that way, I do. I do.
But like I said before, that because you do that, you've helped definitely me and loads of other people too. So, you know, although sometimes we don't want to have that label stuck on our heads, the fact that we can see that this is what you've been through can actually not only help us to think, okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but also like to feel validated in how we feel, because you can feel so alone. And when someone openly and honestly says, I've been through this and it was hard and it's still hard, but I'm doing okay sometimes. Sometimes I have bad days, sometimes I have good days. The fact that you do that can make me think, well, it's okay for me to feel sad then too, and it's okay for me to have good days then too. And it really just shines a light on the come up of grief. You know what I mean? Because I don't think enough people talk about that, and I don't think enough people talk about that, you know, it's okay that you feel okay sometimes. It's okay that you feel sad, but it's okay that you feel okay sometimes, and it's okay for you to build your life. And when you post, you know, you post some very vulnerable posts about your mum, and that's like, it hits me and I sympathize with it and I can sort of get on that wavelength. But then also you post things about like with your boyfriend and like just the love that oozes out of the post, and I love that too. And I think, yes, and it's just like, it makes me feel like, okay, she's doing it, I can do it. So I think, you know, although you didn't want that label on your head, it is kind of helping other people as well. Whereas if you sort of like shut it off and be like, no, I'm not being known as that person, then, you know, you wouldn't have helped other people.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I'm come around to it now and I'm embracing it, but I like that it's like just a continuation. It's not, oh, I lost my mum and now I'm fine. It's the truth of like, yeah, it's been 10 years and it's some days it's like the first day, but it's just not so often. And yeah, I think a lot of the time grief is communicated in a way that like you're hurting and then you're better, but like grief isn't something you get better from. It's just something that you learn and you adapt to, you carry it with you, and you learn to live with it, and you kind of become friends with it. Like it's learning you, you're learning it, and it just becomes kind of like a lifelong companion in a way. Like it's always going to be there. It's just how you choose to befriend it, I suppose.
I was just going to ask you, like a lot of people say that it gets better with time and time's a big healer. I wanted to sort of like ask your opinions around that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very cliche. I do think it's true. I do, like, it's the last thing you want to hear in the midst of it all. And it's almost like when you first lose that person, the fact, like the thought of you ever feeling better is just so alien. So for someone to say to you like, oh, it gets better with time, or like time's a healer, and all of those things, like it's frustrating because in those moments you're blinkered, like all you can like kind of focus on is your hurt and your pain. But they are right, for me anyway. It was right in that time. It does get easier. I don't know how to word it exactly. I think what happens is that over time, as you get kind of life experience and you just kind of grow and adapt as you would have anyway, you just learn to deal with it, and you just have better coping mechanisms, and that's what makes it easier. The pain and the hurt is still as raw as it was on day one, but kind of the fluff around it, like the things that can help ease it, is what makes it better. I wouldn't say that it hurts less today than it did 10 years ago, because it doesn't. It still breaks my heart, but you learn, and it's a lot of like growth, and just it's a lot of hard work, really.
I think you hit the nail on the head, and I think quite similarly. I don't think it gets better with time because time has passed. I think it gets better with time because time is what takes for you to become more equipped to deal with this heaviness that you've dealt with. And that can be for anything, I believe. It's not just about grief. I do think that you learn to deal with it. You find ways to cope with it. And I don't think that that's just because time has passed, because there are some days where I literally want to break down and cry, and like you said, it feels just as raw as it did on day one. But there are other times when I'm a lot better because I'm better equipped to deal with it, and I've maybe got used to the idea of it a little bit. And, you know, so yeah, I don't think that it gets better with time just because time has passed. I think it gets better with time because you learn and grow and adapt and find ways to cope better, or, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like the measurement of time, is it? It's not, oh, it's 10 years ago, you should be, or you're over it by now, or it was 20 years ago, or however many years. It's not that measurement of time. It's, yeah, it's what you learn. So yeah, I'd 100% agree with that for sure.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So if you could go back and tell the 17-year-old Laura, who was a bit of a toe rag, one piece of advice, what would you want to tell her to sort of, you know, give her a little bit of a push, a little bit of just a little piece of wisdom? What would you sort of tell her?
Before or after losing mum?
After.
To be honest with you, I think knowing what I know now, I still would have dealt with it the same way. I think that's what I needed to do. I don't think I could have this knowledge on my shoulders at 17 and be able to do, I don't think that's, yeah. I mean, I would want to tell her that, like, it's gonna be okay, and like you're gonna have like an amazing life, and all of those things, like the things that you'll experience, you can't even think of right now. Like, there's so much more out there. But I think in that moment, to put it bluntly, like, I needed to do those things, and I don't think that was wrong, and like I said, I wouldn't change it. I know when mum was ill, my auntie was worried, and my mum was worried, and my dad was worried that I would go down like the drugs and alcohol route, and I maybe 50-50 did, like I definitely went down like the drink route, but I was the best possible outcome in that time that I could have ever been. It could have been a lot worse. I was definitely going down that bad route. So it could have been a lot worse. And I think that despite me being a bit unruly and a bit like, I just didn't have any, I guess, a lack of respect I had, but that was the best possible outcome at that time. And yeah, I don't think I could have even given the knowledge, even if I could tell myself certain things. Like, yeah, I just needed to do that. And I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. And I think maybe, like, for you, that's the best thing then, because you can look back with no regrets, because you know that's what needed to happen in the moment. You know, so many times we look at our past and think, oh, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? But, you know, and I think for anyone watching this, it validates that whatever you're going through, it's not right or wrong. Maybe it's just what you need to go through right now. I'm not saying that's how it's going to be forever, but maybe that's just how you need to cope right now. And you might go traveling and come back and have to deal with it.
Exactly. You might have to deal with it in a couple more years, but you'll be better equipped then.
That's it. What do you think that 17-year-old Laura would tell you?
That's a tricky question. I honestly don't know. I think for me now was always there, but I think 17-year-old Laura would be shocked that she could be that person. I had a lot of self-hate, and I kind of told myself that I had to be this certain way. And I don't think I ever saw myself breaking out of that box to be just who I am. Like, I can honestly say, like, now I'm probably like the most authentic me that ever has been, because when I was younger, for sure, like school, college, I was always trying to be who I could be, as in like what room I had to be. But the me that I am now was always there. And like if I can think back, like I don't feel like 17-year-old me was 10 years ago. She's still here, you know. So I feel like, yeah, she would just be very happy, I guess, and surprised that I found the space to be that person
She would
that I
be
wanted to
happy for
be.
you. I think
I'm
that's,
proud.
yeah, I think that's so important, because I completely get it. Like, oh, I think most people will get it. I think at that age, you think you're so sure about life, and you think you're an adult, and like then you grow up really and you're like, actually I was just a child.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are always hiding, we're always being who we think we should be, we're always trying to blend in but stand out at the same time, we're always scared that people are going to see the real us. And I think the fact that you feel comfortable now and say like, this is the most authentic I've ever been, that shows real growth and real like self-love. The fact that you can sit there and be like, I am me, take me or leave me, that's the goal. So yeah, that's massive. And she would be proud of you. She like,
yeah,
because not everyone gets to sit where you're sitting, not everyone gets to be themselves. Well, everyone gets to, but not everyone feels that they can. So yeah, so that's, I love that answer. Well done you. So going forward, what is in the pipeline for Laura?
Pipeline for me is, so I'm in this really like tricky situation at the minute, which I think I've kind of voiced to you before, where I'm trying to navigate this vulnerable, authentic me and a business. And that's really like conflicting, because my business like vision and mission is to only ever support and encourage and uplift and empower young grieving people, whether that's through like gifts, like kind of like favors, like grieving favors, or like affirmations. And I'm still really trying to find my feet as to kind of what that product is. But if I can just spread this like passion that I have of letting everybody know that this is possible, sitting here 10 years later is possible, I need everyone to know that.
Unfortunately, we had to stop the video because my battery died, but unfortunately we had to stop the video because my battery died here. But if you are interested in any of Laura's stuff, go over to her Etsy page. You can find the link in the description. I've bought from her in the past. I would definitely buy from her again. They're just wonderful pieces for you to either gift to someone that you know is grieving. A lot of people don't know what to say, they don't know how to act, they don't know what they can bring to the table and, you know, hold that space for someone that's grieving. So this is a perfect way to let someone know, I'm thinking of you, or even to gift that to yourself. I've bought many things in the past that help me feel closer to lost loved ones, and or even just for my own sort of healing. So if you're interested in any of that, look in the description, head over to Laura's Etsy page and follow her on Instagram too. She's just amazing and you won't regret it. Have a nice day.